We've heard from our next guest a couple of times at this point, but I have the absolute pleasure of introducing him again. I'm so excited to hear more from you, David. David Rovics, everybody.
Well, there's been a bunch of things said that I keep wanting to say something about, and Caleb put in the program that I was going to say a few remarks here, so I'm going to take the microphone and say some remarks. One thing that Caleb mentioned, which is, if I were actually an organizer of any decent kind, other than an organizer of concert tours, then I would be, doing something more than just putting up a section on my website about this. But I've been getting attacked for years, particularly since January 6, 2021, by elements of the I call them the anarcho-Puritans, but I'm not sure what to call them. But since having since having coined the phrase anarcho-Puritans, I've learned that the folks who are actually trying to destroy my life are generally actually members of an organization in Portland called Rose City Antifa. Yeah, and they really suck. And they do this to a lot of people, protesting like Medea Benjamin's book talks and this kind of thing, just really crazy stuff. And of course the whole orientation against free speech is not something they invented. It goes way back to the whole history of deplatforming, and the whole history is a history that has totally backfired wherever it has been tried, according to my historical analysis, which is, I'm sure, very in need of somebody else to tell me about some history that I've missed. But as far as my understanding of this tactic being used in Germany, England, the United States, and elsewhere where it has been practiced, it has tended to just completely backfire. And so on my website, there's davidrovics.com. There's a section called Principles, where I pretty much lay out the sort of 10 conclusions that I reached from being attacked like this for years, in terms of possible ways forward, which have a lot to do with a lot of things that people have been talking about already over the past few hours. But in terms of actually having real discourse and free speech, and in terms of actually not having our means of communication being controlled by a handful of corporations that are intent on censoring and through algorithm, especially any kind of possibility for real discourse to happen in the Western world, which is the situation that we're at right now. And I'm far from the first person to make this observation. I first heard Glenn Ford, Black Agenda Report, say exactly what I just said. I said that the corporations are now completely hegemonically have taken over our means of communication. I think that one of the most bright spots around that whole reality has been media from outside of the Western world, such as the media that Caleb works for, also Al Mayadeen and Al Jazeera and so many other platforms that often are coming from all kinds of different perspectives, often have a lot of disagreements with each other in terms of their the biases that they tend to promote. But what's so common around all of these platforms, as you've probably observed yourself in abundance, is that they come to get different conclusions from the Western media about most of the important issues, like Palestine and the war in Russia and Ukraine. And with that, I'll do a song about, I'll do two songs, one about Portland and one to introduce the next speaker. If the next speaker is talking about Assange, is that correct? Is that still the case?
Excellent. Yeah, we're going to have John McCarthy.
Oh, okay. Then this may be relevant to the speaker after John. But I wrote this song before the corporate social media platforms existed, which is evidence that there were problematic people ostensibly on the left before social media. I don't drive a car because they run on gas, but if I did, it would run on biomass. I ride a bike, or sometimes a skateboard, so fuck off all you drivers and your yucky horns, sitting all day in the traffic queues. I'm a better anarchist than you. I just live on moldy chives or the donuts that I found in last week's dumpster dives. Look at you people in that restaurant, I think you are so sad when you live and eating bagels like the ones that I just had. I think it is a shame all the bourgeois things you do. I'm a better anarchist than you. I don't wear leather and I like my clothes in black, and I made a really cool hammock from a moldy coffee sack. I like to hop on freight trains, I think that is so cool. It's so much funner doing this than being stuck in school. I can't believe you're wearing those brand new Chinese shoes. I'm a better anarchist than you. I will have sex and there will be no sequel because heterosexual relationships are inherently wrong. Moshing should be deflag and crass until there are no differences in gender, race, or class. All you brainwashed readers, you just haven't got a clue. I'm a better anarchist than you. I am not a pacifist, I like throwing bricks, and when the cops have caught me and I'm taking a few licks, I always feel lucky if I get a bloody nose, because I feel so militant and everybody knows. By the time the riot is all through, I'm a better anarchist than you. I only talk to those as pure as me. It's not safe if someone disagrees. They might have me thinking thoughts that I don't like. Pretty soon we'll all be praising the Third Reich. Yeah, I don't talk to fascists, and if you do, I'm a better anarchist than you. I'm a better anarchist than you. So, I'll just introduce this next song a little bit, and with a microphone. There's, I don't know how many other people are, have platforms where they're used to having audiences online. One thing I've noticed over time is that this is not common to everybody. We're not all broadcasters and podcasters. It's actually like only less than 5% of us or something. So, I mean, when the social media that is dominating our means of communication for so many of us around the world, and when their algorithms change, a lot of people don't notice, like things like, it used to be that if you were promoting a tour and you had tens of thousands of followers on a platform, people would see your posts about it. That all changed a long time ago. But the way that it's changed, to the degree that it's changed in the past few months, is extremely dystopic and alarming and Orwellian and everything else. And I mean, the extreme is so intense. Like since the war in Gaza, the war on Gaza, everything I've posted, I've written like 6 songs, right? And on Twitter, they'll get tens of thousands of views, and on every other platform I posted combined, it's in the low hundreds. And that's, and this is not just happening with those songs, it's happening with everything that I post. And one of the more extreme examples, like nothing ever goes viral for me on Facebook or on YouTube anymore, but one of the more extreme examples of something going viral that a couple of folks here used on their broadcasts as well was just last week, I guess it was. I was in Oslo, and on the same night that Stella Assange was in Oslo to receive the Ossietzky Prize for Julian, and the Ossietzky, if you read a bit about that guy's history, it is couldn't be a more appropriate prize for Julian Assange, who is in prison, of course, for blowing the whistle on U.S. war crimes, among other things. And then Stella, who is, along with her team, just absolutely spectacular organizers, and also just really savvy at using the media, social media. You know, they did what used to work really well on a lot of platforms, you know, a little bit of clickbait, you know. Julian called while I was in the pub, and these musicians were playing, and then watch what happens next. You know, typical thing, right? So Julian Assange called her on her phone while she was sitting in the audience at the gig, and then we sang this song for Julian over the phone, which was beautiful, but it's also really good strategically in terms of getting people to click on a link, right? And it worked. Like on Twitter, I think it's been seen like 200,000 times now. On all the other platforms, hundreds of views in total. But this is a song I wrote so that Stella would have something to tell people who ask her, how did you meet your husband? When Julian met Stella in the embassy, in the only room for 7 years that he would ever see, guarded by police, with cops on every street, an unusual situation for the first time you should meet. When Julian met Stella, the time they spent was increasingly within the walls of a little tent, where they could have some privacy from the ever-present gaze, under which he was spending all his nights and days. When Julian met Stella, there was the chance of grace. Perhaps the president would decide to drop the case. They had 2 children beneath the watchful eyes of the Americans and British and all kinds of other spies. When Julian met Stella on Embassy Row, it was before he was abducted and forced to go to Belmarsh prison without a chance to speak, awaiting the extradition that the USA seeks. When Julian met Stella, the folks at the UN and people all around the world spoke out then. This journalist belongs among the free, not in prison for exposing crimes against humanity. When Julian met Stella,
Thank you so much, David Rovics.